Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me in this new segment we like to call Windy City Sports Podcast. I'll be your host of the show, Michael Hansa, and from time to time I may have other guest speakers joining with me, but today it's just going to be just me. Just to give you a little rundown on what this show is going to be about, if you couldn't have guessed by the name of Windy City, yes, that's right, Windy City meaning Chicago, we're going to be focusing on all the sports teams in the Chicagoland area, my beloved Notre Dame football, and also the other major headlining news going on from all the other sports around in the country. So let's get right into it right away then. The Chicago Bears lost on Thursday 41 to 28 to the Dallas Cowboys, bringing their record to now 5-8. It was a brutal game to watch as a Bears fan, despite the final score saying we only lost by 13. It was nothing like that at all. At one point, the score was 35 to 7. And you just had to think as a Bears fan that we were going to give up 50 points again and just get our butts handed to us by the Cowboys. To add on to the bad news of that, Marshall's out for the year with broken ribs and also a lung injury that actually kept him in the hospital for a couple more days. Dallas rushed for almost 200 yards. DeMarco Murray had 174 himself, including a touchdown he ran in on the ground. Romo threw for over 200 yards with 3 touchdowns. Cutler actually didn't have himself a bad game. He actually threw for 350 yards, 2 touchdowns. We all know he had that last minute interception, which meant nothing. So let's talk about the game a little bit here. It was a really good game in the first half. I liked it. As a Bears fan, I thought we played very well. It was mostly 7-7 the whole time, except obviously Romo and Beasley connected on that last second touchdown to make the score 14-7 going into halftime. So I thought we were okay. I knew the Bears were getting the ball at halftime. I thought we were in good position in this ball game to give ourselves the victory. However, the third quarter didn't go that way at all. Matt Forte started it off with a fumble at our own 35-yard line, whatever it was. The Cowboys would go on to score on that. The Cowboys had 21 unanswered points in the third quarter. Just another brutal game to watch. A big reason, too, of the Cowboys' success was the rate on third down. They went 50%, 7 for 14. And it wasn't even like the third and shorts. There was times it was 3rd and 15, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. Those are big plays you got to come up with that'll keep you in the ball game. So a big question as a Bears fan is you got to ask yourself, where do we go from here? Where does Phil Emery, what are the moves that he has to make in this upcoming offseason? Of course, we know with Jay Cutler, Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey, and Mark Trestman. We'll start with Jay Cutler here. So if you're Emery, what are you doing? Do you get rid of him? Even if you want to trade, what are you least willing to accept for him in his $18.5 million contract? And better yet, if you're a team on a GM on another team, what are you willing to give up? I mean, are you really, really willing to give up more than a second-round pick for Cutler? Is a second-round pick even that much to give up for Cutler? And again, you got to ask yourself, if you're Emery, are you willing to take that for the quarterback that you just started to pay $18.5 million over the next 5 years? Brandon Marshall, we all know, signed a 3-year, $30 million contract in May before the season started. But there's going to be money issues with him too, I believe, because Alshon Jeffrey, I think, will sit out in the offseason. He's got 1 more year left on his contract for $1.5 million, but he shows that he's obviously worth way more than that. I think we're going to have some trouble with him, so we're going to need to free up some space. And obviously, out of the two, if you can only keep one, you got to keep Jeffrey. We all know Marshall's older in age. As he just shown in the last game, he's injury-prone. Jeffrey is still a young talent, hasn't even hit his peak in his career yet. He still has a long way to go in this marvelous career that he's just getting started with. Mark Trestman, $1 million question. Overall record so far is 13-16. When Emery brought him in, I liked the move. I thought it was a great move. Emery put together a pretty good offensive scheme, bringing in Trestman, who's supposed to be this genius offensive-minded coach. So when it was all said and done, when Trestman was coming in, I liked the direction the Bears were heading. But Obviously, the results, especially this season, haven't been that way at all. With this 5-8 record, we're in last place in the division. So, where is the blame coming from? I know I read a piece earlier this week that Mike Wilbon wrote on ESPN.com saying that he thinks the blame needs to come from the top with Phil Emery. I disagree with that. I think Emery did his part. I think he did it beautifully. If you're a Bears fan, not even just a Bears fan, but an NFL fan, going into this season, you thought the Bears, everyone did, they thought the Bears were a Super Bowl favorite in this league. We all know, obviously, it's been a different story so far this year. So I think it has to go to no farther than the players and the coaches in the locker room. Emery did a great job of bringing these pieces together. Of course, we know he signed Jay Cutler in the offseason, which I liked at the time. Went out, got Brandon Marshall, drafted Alshon Jeffrey, bringing in free agents such as Martellus Bennett, Bushrod. He goes out and drafts both Kyles in the last first round the past 2 years, and Kyle Fuller and Kyle Long. So even the Trustman signing, I liked it when it was done, but it was the players and coaches that couldn't carry out what Emery, I think, did so beautifully well in bringing together in this clubhouse. So I think, yeah, you got to go with Trustman and the players in this clubhouse, not Emery. So the Bears have 3 more games left this year. We take on the Saints and Lions at home. They then go to Minnesota to end the year. But enough about that. Let's go on and talk about the better and brighter things on as a Chicago sports fans. Chicago Bulls just lost to the Warriors 112-102 at home on Saturday. Their record is now 12-8. The Warriors improved to a league best 17-2. It was their 12th straight win of the game. Draymond Green added 31 points, 7 3-pointers. The Splash Brothers combined for 43 points, and the Warriors are showing no signs of slowing down and proving why they are the league's best team right now. The Bulls did put up a fight. It was a good game. Jimmy Butler led the way with 24 points. Gasol had a 20-20 game himself, chipping in 22 points and adding another 20 rebounds. Rose did not look good. Only 9 points, 2 for 11 from the field. He definitely looks like it was a game he needed to step up in that we needed him in, which he did not do. Other headlines from the game. Taj Gibson made his debut back after suffering that sprained ankle injury. He didn't quite look like himself. A big reason due to his game is his athletic ability. I know what it's like suffering an ankle injury. I think the main thing that it will be, I'm not worried. I think he will come back into his place. You just got to give it time for that ankle to heal more and his athletic ability. But he did chip in 12 points. Other headlines from the game. Derrick Rose wore an I Can't Breathe shirt during warm-ups. Some may have thought it was another excuse on why his minutes are so low and why he doesn't want to play, but actually he was wearing that in the protesting of the Eric Gardner decision. The Bulls are currently in 5th in the Eastern Conference. They're 12-8, 5-5 in their last 10 games. So what do we make of the Bulls so far, their play this year? Well, being 12-8, I'll take it. I will. The Bulls have sustained many injuries, and besides Game 1 going into this year, they really haven't had the healthy ball club that they have. Of course, we know the injuries with the Rose he's been hurt with his legs being slow. Gasol sustained that calf injury. Noah himself even missed a couple games with the flu. And Gibson with his sprained ankle, obviously we just said he came back. But those are 4 of your 5 top players right there. And if you're 12-8, obviously you got to be thankful the Bulls are still that record. Of course, you know there's other players that stepped up. Jimmy Butler has just been amazing, averaging 22 points a game. We all know he just won Eastern Conference Player of the Month, really showing that he does deserve more than the Bulls offered in the beginning of the year. I'm not worried, though. I think he will come back to the Bulls. He said he wants to be a Bulls. I don't think the Bulls will let Jimmy Butler go. But honestly, Jimmy Butler's play has been amazing so far. Shooting great from the field. Really not afraid of anybody. Going head-to-head with anyone who tries to match up against him. Another big reason is Nikolai Mirotic has been great. I think he's been a top 3 rookie in the league this year. Really showing that his European-style play with his shooting from the perimeter, his inside play, and his ability to pass the ball has really transitioned well over here in the NBA. Other good player has been Aaron Brooks for us. It's been great to see him mesh right in with the system. Of course, we've been able to get lucky with the DJ Augustine and Nate Robinson. So Aaron Brooks kind of fits that role pretty well of the little man role the Bulls have had the last couple of years. Another big issue, though, is the Bulls are only 2-5 at home. 2-5. 2-5. And if you're a Bulls fan, the Bulls have been known for winning their games, having great home records, and this year they're not winning anything so far. Most of their wins have in fact came on the road. 10 of the wins have come on the road. 10 of the 12 wins. So they go on to play Brooklyn and Portland at home this week, and then they go to Miami Sunday nights. To the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks have been their usual self so far this year, looking great with a record of 18-8-1, 37 points. They did have a little bit of a slow start this year, but they got right back to their current self, looking like they're not slowing down at all. They're currently on a 6-game win streak. They're 9-1 in their last 10 games. They wrapped up the weekend with a 3-1 victory in Nashville. Hossa had 2 goals. Sad had an assist and a goal himself. We know Crawford has been out. He'll be out for a couple more weeks. He didn't play in Nashville with a lower body injury. But Scott Darling has looked very well replacing him. He has a 3-1 record right now, a 95% save percentage. It's great to see the Chicago native from Lemont really stepping up and doing well for his hometown team. They've also been doing all this without Patrick Sharp. Of course, he is actually expected to make his debut back with the Blackhawks on Tuesday against New Jersey. But it's been really great seeing all this success even without him. But we do miss you, Sharpie. Can't wait to see you back in the lineup. But really, everyone else, though, has been playing really great this year. You got Versteeg, Taves, and Kane all over 20 points this year. Hossa and Saad have just been their usual selves, playing great. Their 2 top defensemen in Seabrook and Keith have been phenomenal. Keith has 17 points with a plus 10 rating. Seabrook also has 15 points himself. It's great to see Seabrook playing well, too. We all know he was demoted real early in the year at first. Wasn't off to a great start. He got demoted from that Keith line, but got promoted right back up. Proved he deserves to be on that line. He's actually having himself a career year right now, playing tremendous with the puck. The Blackhawks are in first place in the Central Division by 1 point over Nashville. As I just said, we just beat them on Saturday, which is a very big game for us. We do have a busy week ahead, though. We travel, as I said before, to New Jersey on Tuesday. We then have to go to Boston, New York, and then finally come home to square off against the Calgary Flames on Sunday nights. On to Notre Dame football we go. As a Notre Dame fan, you got to ask yourself what happened this year. It was a brutal season. We started off hot, though. We won 6-0 before losing that heartbreaking game at Florida State. We all know how that ended. I'm not going to get into that. But after the Florida State game, we went 1-4 after that. We actually ended the year on a 4-game losing streak. We went to ASU and got our butts handed to us there. At one point, I remember the score being 34-3. Me and my dad had to change the channel. We couldn't even watch the game at all. Of course, we came home to play Northwestern, blew that game to lose to them in overtime. Next week, Louisville comes into our house. Kyle Brinson misses the chip shot that would have sent that game into overtime. We go on to lose that game. And then we travel to USC to play the Trojans, where it was not pretty at all there. We ended up losing 49-14. So why did we play so bad to end the year as we did? Well, first of all, our defense wasn't as good as they had to start off the year. They didn't let up more than 17 points through their first 5 games. I believe they were top 2 in the FBS as with points allowed through those first 5 games. However, the next 7 games were a different story. They let up more than 30 points a game after that. 30 points a game for the final 7 games of the year. Of course, we lost a key player in walk-on Jared Schmidt, who ended his season with injury at Navy. but we didn't really have another guy step up to help out Jalen Smith with this defense at all. So it really hurt us there with the injury of Jared Schmidt. Of course, Everett Golson, you got to protect the football, buddy. He had a great start to the year. His first 3 games, he didn't even have any interceptions. And then that's a different story, too. After those first 3 games with no interceptions, he threw at least 1 pick a game for every other game to end the year. Another big problem was his fumbles. Of course, he coughed up 12 fumbles, 8 of them recovered by the opposing team for a turnover. And these were really key fumbles, too. These were at our own 35, 25, even our 15-yard line. But nonetheless, the Irish did finish up with a 7-5 record. We actually did get a bowl berth against number 23 LSU. We're going to be playing them down in Nashville, Tennessee in the Franklin American Mortgage Music City Bowl. They're going to go on and take on Les Miles and the Tigers on December 30th. We like to grab that one more victory against a good LSU football team to sort of redeem themselves with how the rest of the season played off. I do think Coach Kelly will have the Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish ready come ball time. And it'll be a good game, I think. Hopefully the Irish can sneak one more victory past them. More from the FBS football. The final college football for the first football playoff is in rate. It's in store. It's Alabama, Oregon, number 2, then Florida State, and Ohio State. Alabama's going to go on and play Ohio State in the All-State Sugar Bowl. Oregon and Florida State will follow them later on that day and play each other in the Rose Bowl. So, yeah, the final rankings are in. It goes Bama, Oregon, Florida State, Ohio State, leaving Baylor and TCU as the first 2 out the committee decided to do. I think it's the right move. I think it's perfect. Despite TCU beating Iowa State 55-3, it wasn't enough to keep them in. They went from 3 to 6 with even Baylor and Ohio State and Florida State all jumping them. So where do you put the blame on for that? Well, I was just reading an article on Bleacher Report that you gotta blame the commissioner of the Big 12. That the Big 12, out of all 5 major power football conferences, is the only conference that doesn't have a championship game in the regular season to declare an outright winner. That was a big deal because you put this title that TCU and Baylor were co-champions. You couldn't, in fact, crown one champion to give the committee a Big 12 champion. But I do think Ohio State deserved it, without a doubt. They had an amazing victory over 13 Wisconsin. They beat them 59-0. They needed this victory, a couple reasons. They needed a statement victory to show they did belong. Of course, with the injury J.T. Barrett sustained against Michigan being out for the year, everyone wanted to know how Cardell Jones was going to answer his number being called. He answered tremendously, threw for over 250 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like I said, Ohio State rolled on to beat the Badgers 59-0, giving them that statement victory they needed to sneak in and get that last spot. I think it's going to be a great playoff. I think Urban Meyer is going to have his team ready against Nick Saban's Crimson Tide, and it should be a very good game. This playoff will be very good. Don't even count out Florida State. If they still haven't been beaten yet, so if you're undefeated, you got the defending Heisman finalist, you're the defending national champs, you can't include them out. Of course, Oregon is a big-time favorite, too, with Mariota and that high-powered offense. But I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be great to finally see the first playoff in college football take off. Going on into the MLB, a little free agency talk in the Chicagoland area. The White Sox, we know, signed Adam LaRoche. Don't know how I feel about that signing. Don't see where they're headed with that. The Cubs signed Jason Hamill again to a 2-year deal reportedly worth $18 million. I do like the signing, bringing Hamill back after we know they traded him to the A's. We're still looking, though, to add that one more veteran to our ball club, such as a John Lester. I think Theo Epstein has done a marvelous job, with this farm system. We finally brought the Solairs, the Baez is up. Of course, we got Arrieta, who I'm really looking forward to see what he has to do again this year. We all know the Rizzo and Castros are out there, but the Cubs are still just looking forward. They need that veteran, experienced player. Not just that, a good one for that matter. John Lester is expected to make his decision in the next day, if we don't hear later on tonight from that. But hopefully he decides to come to Chicago, sees that we are a favorite if he comes here, really gives them the boost that they need. Other than that, though, the Cubs, even if Lester doesn't come, I hope the Cubs do go out and sign a big-name guy in this offseason to really make a statement that they are ready for the World Series this year. But that's all I got to talk about for today. Thank you again for joining me. Like I said, this is Windy City Sports Podcast with Mike Hansa. I look forward to meeting you again next week.